I'm the hood champion boxing and sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. So Ryan Garcia, he did the job, man. Got to give him credit. What he did to Fortuna, it wasn't really hard to get the job done against Fortuna, but Fortuna is a qualified opponent, man. He was credible, so you got to give Ryan Garcia credit. The things I was concerned about with him being with Joe Goossen, holding his chin straight in the air, not getting his hands up, not using a jab, just trying to beat Canelo and walk people down. It looks like Joe Goossen kind of let Ryan Garcia do things his way in the Tago fight. And then when they got back to the gym, Joe Goossen was like, okay, this is what it needs to be. Worked on the jab, worked on the right hand, worked on getting the left hand, the clean up left hand behind it, worked on the check hook, throwing the right hand as a distraction just to bring back the hook, worked on throwing a 1-2-1, and Ryan Garcia worked on keeping his hands up. Javier Fortuna threw that left hand a couple times, and Ryan Garcia caught it on his glove. But a couple of them kind of got through a little bit, and Ryan Garcia admitted that Javier Fortuna hits hard. He's a heavy-handed fighter. So Fortuna, maybe if he would have took more chances, maybe he would have had more success against Garcia. But at the same time, the more he lets his hands go, Fortuna, the more he would have let his hands go, the more of a chance of Ryan Garcia catching him with something. Look, man, the way Ryan Garcia fought tonight, that's how he needs to fight. He doesn't need to do anything crazy, doesn't need to get over anxious, doesn't need to worry about trying to please the crowd and go in there and get caught with a stupid punch. Now, I got to call it like I see it. Ryan Garcia looked fantastic tonight. Let me tell you, when you have that kind of speed, but then you have, obviously, power like that, and it's going to take someone very special to get in there and beat him. So that kind of is a good segue into the next issue here with Ryan Garcia. He's been calling out Tank. After tonight, he feels that his performance should have earned him a fight with Tank. The thing is, he wants to fight Tank at 140. Now, I just said it takes a special fighter to beat Ryan Garcia. Tank's the special fighter. You know why Tank will beat Ryan Garcia? I'm going to tell you. And no, it's not because Tank hits hard. No, it's footwork. Ryan Garcia doesn't have any footwork. Tank has footwork. Tank is much smaller than Ryan Garcia. That could be a disadvantage for Tank. But because of Tank's boxing ability, his IQ, his awareness to take advantage of the fact that he's short and get super small when necessary and spring into action with those big shots, it makes it hard for Ryan Garcia because now he's punching down, which in probably half of his fights, that's the norm for him. But with a guy so small like Gervonta Davis, you got to really punch down even more. And the way Ryan Garcia throws the right hand isn't a shot to really hurt anyone. It's more of a distraction. I think they need to work on that right hand. Joe Goossen has to make Ryan's right hand, you got to make that a threat. Right now it's not. It's like Pacquiao. His right hook wasn't a threat. Freddie Roach worked on that, made the right hook complement the left hand. So you were in trouble if the shot hit you. And Ryan Garcia needs to sort that out. Getting there with a guy like Tank. Tank's footwork, I'm telling you. That Tank will not be standing there for them shots. His footwork will get him in and out of range, in and out of that zone to get his shots off whenever he wants to. He has lateral movement, and Tank has heavy hands, and he's extremely accurate, and his eyes are wide open. Just like Ryan Garcia is, he sees everything. But I do think that fight would be competitive. Okay? Now, let's not get carried away. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Ryan Garcia beats Tank, but I do think if Ryan Garcia fights discipline, you guys, look, let's just be real now. If Ryan Garcia fights discipline, stays behind that long jab, doesn't try to lunge in with the check hook, doesn't try to throw right hands that mean nothing. Tank's going to counter them right hands. I'm telling you right now. But if Ryan Garcia can just stay disciplined and just use the jab the whole fight, keep it simple, make it boring, he'll beat Tank. I really do. I think so. He has the length, and he has the speed, he has the stamina, and he has the legs. I ain't saying footwork now. I'm just saying he has what it takes to shoot the jab out and get out of range, get out of the way of those shots. And if he can stay disciplined and just be Ike Corte for 12 rounds, 10 or 12 rounds, or however many rounds they're going to fight, Ryan Garcia could win that fight. But the problem with Ryan Garcia is he can't sit there so heavy on his front foot, leaning forward and throwing the right hand. He's going to get hit with a massive Tank Davis uppercut, man. And that's going to, matter of fact, I'm going to call it now. If they fight, which I doubt they're going to fight, right? I'm about to segue into that too. If they were to fight, I think Tank Davis would knock Ryan Garcia out by a lead left uppercut. Because Ryan Garcia has a habit of getting his hands up like this and leaning forward, putting all of his weight on that front foot, on his left foot, and leaning forward and then trying to throw the right hand, or leaning forward and then trying to come back with the hook. Once he leans forward and throws that right hand, Ryan Garcia better pay attention to what happened to Leo Santa Cruz. Look at what happened to my boy Rolly Romero. You throw right hands that don't mean nothing at Tank Davis. He's gonna time you, slip to the side, and hit your ass with an uppercut. Small man gonna get under your shots. It's so easy for Tank to get underneath your shots. And when he lets those shots go, he gets a lot of leverage, a lot of power. He's already heavy-handed. He can get you out of it. And if he hits Ryan Garcia clean like that, Ryan Garcia's out of here. But I'm telling you, that's going to be the shot. Joe Goosen should tell Ryan Garcia to not throw any right hands unless it's a straight right. Not leaning forward and that right hand as a distraction. Like, that's just not what you want to do. Okay? So, segue into the next topic when it comes to these guys. Can Ryan Garcia, or can De La Hoya even work out a deal with Al Heyman and Tank Davis' team to make a fight happen? Okay, so that's the next sticking point. All right? There's nothing to elaborate on that. Nobody wants to work with De La Hoya. And by the way, what's up with De La Hoya's eyes, man? De La Hoya, man, look, something's wrong with that guy. I'm telling you, there's something going on in between De La Hoya, Eddie Hearn. I don't know what the hell's going on with him. Eddie Hearn, I think, is stressed financially. De La Hoya looking like he's zooted all the time, man. All these weird-ass non-verbal and these facial expressions and eyes like this looking crazy all the time, man. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, I just don't think nobody wants to work with De La Hoya. De La Hoya, I just don't think so. He got De La Rocha, who's looking pretty good, and Virgil Ortiz, who can be something. But right now, I just don't think De La Hoya, anyone wants to work with him. So if no one wants to work with De La Hoya, that's the first problem. But even if they decide to, are they going to be able to pay Tank the kind of money he wants to go into a fight with Ryan? And I don't even know if there'll be a title on the line. I know Tank clipped Barrios, but the Tank didn't even keep that belt. You know what I'm saying? So why would Tank, if it's going to be a non-title fight, why would Tank go fight Ryan Garcia at 140 pounds in a non-title fight just to basically have this fight to say, I'm better than you? Tank's not going to do that. Okay? He's just not going to do that. Tank is out here on to bigger and better things. And Ryan Garcia, just a couple of interesting facts for you guys. Ryan Garcia is not making big money like Tank Davis is making, okay? This is a fact. Against, what's his name, Emmanuel Tagu, Garcia earned about $1 million guaranteed, plus 70% of the pay-per-view sales. So that probably equaled about $3 million for Ryan Garcia, okay? Now, the thing about that, Garcia, when he fought Romero Duno, Ryan Garcia earned $250,000. And then when he fought Luke Campbell, Ryan Garcia earned a little bit more than that. So maybe there's an upside somewhere, but just that's what's being reported. Now, if you look at if you look at that, what Ryan Garcia was making compared to what Tank Davis is making. Now, what Ryan Garcia made for Fortuna, I don't have those numbers. I couldn't find that. I'm sure it'll come out. But I'm sure he's not making what Tank Davis is making. It's my understanding Tank Davis is making, I did a video on that. He's making like 5, 6, 7 million, man. Tank could be making more than that, because they didn't disclose all the different outlets that are going to be providing him some kind of revenue. But Tank Davis, you look at if he's making, let's just say $8 million a fight, right? Ryan Garcia is out here, and he's making, let's say the most he's made is 3. One making $8 million plus a fight. You come down, you just now getting 3, right? How are you going to come to the table and want to negotiate? So you're going to hit a sticking point. Why would Tank Davis give him a 50-50 split in the fight purse? Why would he give him 60-40? That's more like a 70-30 right there. And you're going to run into problems because then now it's like Earl Spence and Crawford. You look at what Earl brings to the table, the belts, but you look at what Crawford brings to the table, accomplishments, and 1 belt, okay? Okay, that creates a problem. And by the way, I'm going to give you this now. Word on the street is Earl Spence is tired of the bullshit and may just be settling for a 50-50 split, okay? But that's a whole nother video. But back on Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, you look at what he brings to the table. All these followers. He's a good fighter. He looked good tonight. And his whole thing is his platform, his profile. That helps him somewhat, but that's not helping him to sell 1 million pay-per-view, 1 million pay-per-view buys. If Ryan Garcia was selling consistently 1 to 2 million pay-per-view buys, because if he has 20, so if he had 10% of his 20 million followers were buying his pay-per-view fights, Ryan Garcia will come in as the A side, period. But that's not what's happening with him, okay? And he needs to be, if he's looking to be the biggest draw in the sport, he needs to be trying to motivate his followers to buy pay-per-view. Because Ryan Garcia, you just figure if he gets 10% of the people who follow him to buy pay-per-view, that's over 2 million buys. Now that's easier said than done. Because most people just sit here and kind of like something they see on social media. They just hit the subscribe button or hit the like button or follow button or whatever the hell the button is. And they sit back and they'll get notifications. They may look at it, they may not. That doesn't mean somebody's going to want to go out there and pay money to watch you box. Okay? But if Ryan Garcia can make that happen, he would definitely be the A side. But 140 pounds fighting Tank, man, I'm just not confident that will happen. And Tank, those guys have, they have a formula over there, and Tank is a star, and they're gonna keep making sure Tank is making real money. I think Tank can start making $20-25 million a pop now. Tank's profile is getting bigger and bigger. So for him to come fight Ryan has to bring something more to the table than just this is a grudge match. Like that's just not gonna cut it. So I can see Tank going against Lomachenko. My understanding is that may be what's in the works for later this year, when Lomachenko returns. It's Tank versus Lomachenko. Okay, now that's a good fight. I don't know. That's when it comes to footwork, Lomachenko has the footwork. He's got the angles. He has everything to make that fight damn near impossible for Tank. But Tank has everything to make that fight a very dark day for Lomachenko. So that's an excellent fight. But Ryan Garcia, he's a good fighter, man. Can't take nothing from him. He showed me what I wanted him to show me. Now, true indeed, Fortuna was kind of right there to get hit. Fortuna was trying to counter him. He was basically trying to use the blueprint of Luke Campbell. I'm just talking solely throwing that looping left hook. But he just wasn't able to get the job done. But we know it. Tank, a guy like Lomachenko, a guy like Devin Haney, those guys have great footwork. Those guys have head movement. Those guys have more speed. They may not have as much power, what Tank does, but they have power. And I just think that would be those fights would be a lot tougher for Ryan Garcia. So I don't think anyone should get overly excited about Ryan Garcia going into a fight with, I don't know if him and Rolly would ever fight, but even with Rolly or with Lomachenko, with Tank, with Devin Haney, even a guy like Shakur Stevenson. Fighting any of those guys, I don't think anyone should get overly excited because Ryan Garcia has, height, he has reach, he has speed, he has power. But all those other guys have a lot of those qualities and footwork, and that's going to create problems to me for Ryan. Ryan Garcia, pretty much, his bread and butter is that left hand, that check hook. If he hits you with that, there's something in his left hand, just like De La Hoya, just like Miguel Cotto. There's something in that left hand. If he hits you with it, you're out of here. But I think he'd find himself in much tougher fights because Styles make fights against those guys. A good fight for Ryan Garcia if he wants to stay at 140. And he wants to prove that he's the next greatest whatever, fight Regis Prograis. Nobody wants to fight Regis Prograis. I'll tell you what, get in there and fight Regis Prograis. Knock him out. If he does that, then we have something we need to be talking about. Because Regis Prograis is left-handed. He's got footwork. He's got head movement. He's got crazy speed and crazy power. He has everything that Tank Davis has. IQ-wise, I mean, hey, you could say Tank has a better IQ. But bottom line is Regis Prograis isn't that far off from Tank Davis as far as what he brings to the ring. If Ryan Garcia can get in there and just shut down Regis Prograis, Ryan Garcia is in a great spot. And I think that should be the fight. That would be the optimal fight, in my opinion, because Regis Prograis has been inactive. This would be a good opportunity to get a big name who wants to fight somebody and will probably take very little money because he thinks Ryan Garcia would be an easy fight. Get in the ring and clip Regis Prograis. Then start talking about Tank Davis because now you're putting pressure on everybody because nobody wants to fight Regis. Okay? But 140 pounds, man, they got some killers up there. I'll tell you what, there's that guy who fought, I'll tell you who he should not fight. Is that guy who fought Chris Colbert in Chris Colbert's last fight. I did a video on him. I can't remember his name right now. I don't know if he's Puerto Rican or Dominican, but I did a video on that guy. That guy is a problem. Nobody should fight him, but nobody talks about him. DAZN talks about him. That guy is a problem. So, with guys like that, don't go fighting these no-name fighters. Fight somebody with a name. But, they're trying to make the fight. They're trying to hype it up, man. But for Ryan, but I just don't think they should be begging. You're so thirsty, man. Just because you're thirsty don't mean you drink water from anybody. Sit back and relax, man. You're a draw. Ryan Garcia, keep getting good wins. It's time for him to go up against another name, a big name. Get the wins, man. You don't need to say, he doesn't need to say anything at this point. They're going to pay attention. They know that he brings a lot of money to the table. He sells out arenas. They know what Ryan Garcia is about. They say, they joke him, they say things about him, but they all give him his respect as a fighter. They know that he's a good fighter. And his interview tonight was probably one of the best post-fight interviews I've seen. Glad he wasn't clownish. He wasn't, I'm turned up. All that shit's out the window. It seems like he's either maturing or he's realized that he needs to talk very little and listen a whole lot, the things that I've been saying in videos. But what he does need to do, and they need to do this sooner than later, get a hold of De La Hoya and tell him to stop doing whatever the hell he's doing that has him running around with just the white of his eyeballs showing. De La Hoya looking like Usyk, right? I'm going to do a video on that, man. What the hell's wrong with De La Hoya's face? But anyway, man, Garcia's on his way. He and Joe Goosden's working things out. Just don't know if they can pull it off against the elite fighters at 135, 140. He said he's not going back down to 135. But I just don't think he'll pull it off against those elite fighters. He has the tools, but he's going to have to figure out that right hand and footwork if he really wants to get in there and really have a solid chance on winning the fight and not just rely on landing that left hand because he has speed. It's going to take more than that to beat those elite fighters. That being said, like and subscribe if you enjoy the channel. Shout out to the veterans. I'll finally cut Ryan Garcia some slack. I hope that he remains consistent as far as the maturity he's showing, speaking with intelligence, and not just being, I'm turned up. He actually sounds like someone who is committed and dedicated. And he, like he said, he's finally, if you were to timeline things, he's put himself back on that timeline where he was going into the Fortuna fight last year. He's finally back in that position, and people are paying attention. So hopefully he gets back in the ring soon because he took absolutely no punishment. Gets another big win by the end of the year, and going into 2023, Ryan Garcia is going to be the man. But you got to work on that right hand and footwork. As always, y'all keep cool, and I'm in the breeze.